the initial burden of proof lies on you because you are challenging constitutional validity.
So the classification
So
itself is bad. I agree.
You must therefore show two things.
Yes.
That so far as Assam is concerned,
Yeah.
for the purpose of for the purpose of determining the quantum of illegal infiltration,
Yeah.
Assam was similarly situated as regards as compared to other states like West Bengal, Tripura, other states, Mizoram, so on and so forth. Second, you have to establish that as a result of 6A.
I read that Law Commission report which gave those figures on the basis of census figures with regard to infiltration or whatever illegal migrants in other states as well.
Assam was much higher. Therefore, Parliament, if the quantum...
No, just have a look. I think West Bengal may be higher. Just have a look at that.
The impact is greater in a particular state.
Sorry?
Parliament can always choose degrees of evil and then legislate. We've always allowed an under-inclusive legislation by Parliament.
It's not under-inclusive. What you are doing over here. Sorry? Let us see that page.
That well, you should have applied 6A to West Bengal. You should have applied.
No, that's not my argument. That's not my argument at all. My argument is very simple. I mean, there are several arguments, but one amongst those arguments is with respect to Article 14. And my submission with respect to Article 14 is that we are people. Plus, we are living. I'm a community. That's why I spent a little time reading the description of whom I represent. I represent a large number of communities which have been living in Assam and who are enjoying culture and want to develop and continue to enjoy their culture.
Because now, when we deal with any matter challenging the constitutional validity of a statute, we begin with a presumption of constitutionality.
I think that's
very
fair.
Well settled.
That's fair.
But we also give Parliament the latitude to recognize degrees of evil. Evil in a sense, I'm using it not in a pejorative sense.
Right.
Parliament can identify the degrees of wrongdoing, the degrees of evil, the degrees of the problem which it wants to.
You're right.
Parliament does not have to legislate with respect to everything to legislate with respect to something. Now,
this is far more important. Let's just start
to Assam. You can certainly.
We are not dealing over here with some classification under a taxing statute or something. We are dealing with citizenship. We are dealing with political rights. We are dealing with issues of tremendous importance, not only for the current generation, but for future generations.
Doubtedly, yeah.
And therefore, I believe that there will have to be a very strong justification, which is furnished by the state, by the government, in support of this particular stand. It's not enough to say that, look, I had an Assam Accord, a political settlement, and therefore I have enacted a law. It's not enough to say that. Of course, you had a political. That's a historical fact. We are not countering or disputing that basis. But thereafter, when you make a law, the law has to be, in our respectful submission and understanding, even-handed. And it has to be even-handed. It cannot oppress a certain community or set of communities in the state so as to obliterate their culture. Whereas you ignore it, as your lordship correctly said, that of course the Parliament may do things in grades, etc. But the effect, when we go into this and when you see this, what's happening over here? You are having your entire demography which is changing along the border states over there. That's number one. That has an economic impact. It has a political impact. It has a social impact. And this is enormous. This is not something which is happening just... And this statutory provision is encouraging. So keep aside everything which is... I am first challenging 66 itself. Where is the question of suddenly sort of waving a wand and says everyone before 1966 is fine without any scrutiny at all? Then... Sorry? Yes. So, yes, my learned friend is right. It's not some sort of exemption under a taxing statute or something like that. This is when we look at the preamble and when you see the value of fraternity, the fraternity is among citizens. Fraternity at some larger quality, a larger level, maybe some global fraternity, etc. But here the constitutional mandate in the preamble is about fraternity among citizens. And that fraternity among citizens is sought to be destroyed by a statute which steps in and which destroys my community. How is that to be countenanced?
What is the impact of Section 6A per se on the demographics? Unless you indicate to the court that the impact of 6A on the demographics of the state...
it encourages retention.
Is to destroy the cultural demography of...
Yes, it does. But these are the facts.
We have to have data.
But this is the data. This is the,
Data, as we said to you,
yeah.
is data which goes on right through to 2011 and 2020.
But that's what I have.
And Assam undoubtedly has a problem. There's no doubt about the fact that there is infiltration, but we are not testing here. The constitutional validity issue is on the cutoff which has been adopted.
No, the
See,
scheme. No, that's too narrow. It's on the full scheme of 6A.
The Assam Accord. What did the Assam Accord do? We must understand the Assam Accord.
Yeah,
There was an agitation
correct.
by the All Assam Gan Sangram Parishad, by the All Assam Students Union.
Yes, yes.
Their basic grievance was that Assam is being invaded by foreigners, by illegal infiltration.
That is
the government of India is doing nothing about it. All right, that was the core of the students movement in Assam. An accord is arrived at. We are not saying that it is sanctimonious, but what does the accord really say? Even the agitators said, all right, what has happened up to now is fine. What happened until people who came in between 66 and 71, delete them from the electoral roll. We don't want them to vote for 10 years. After 10 years, they will be restored broadly. This was a scheme, provided they are identified.
So that was the bargaining that they agreed to.
That's right. So that even the agitators who were agitating at that, and that was not an isolated movement.
But we are also agitators. We've mentioned.
So what was the agitation?
Right.
The agitation essentially was curb the infiltration. The political compromise which was struck was this: those who came before 71, 66 to 71, leave them alone. Now they have assimilated in India. 71 onwards, you have to be absolutely ruthless. Don't allow anybody post 71 to. And you, Mr. Diwan, you are right. We are not saying your petition is wrong. Your petition highlights a very significant problem that post 71, nothing has been done by successive governments to curb the infiltration. There you are right. But that's not what we're trying to do. That's not an issue of constitutional validity. That is about the enforcement of law.
No, that's assuming the law is valid. That's my second argument. My first and primary argument is this: could you do that? I've indicated in the morning the broad heads under which we are challenging it, etc., which I will come to. But what this is operating, when we see the working of 6A as it stands, keep the implementation aside. Just 6A as it stands, according to us, is there is no justification for this. There may be some.
That by making a provision like 6A,
right,
you are encouraging illegal people to come in the hope that one day we will be also given amnesty. That you can say that. Up to that, you can really say that, look, by making an argument like 6A, by making a statute like 6A, you're holding out some sort of an expectation for people that this will be extended in the future. But I don't think that has happened. After 86, has any law been enacted by Parliament that 71 is extended to 81? It's not like those slum dwellers, who constantly get an extension of the cutoff date for regularization.
No, you see the effect. I'll explain that effect. The effect is absolutely devastating, because what has essentially happened is that there's a notional statutory provision which is there, but the whole situation remains on the ground. That's why we read those portions and the riots, etc. Right until the filing of this petition, we have documented what has happened over there. And the violence which is taking place is also because people are finding.
You're right. The impact is very severe. I mean, that your data, subject to hearing.
Yes, and we are going. Yes, we are.
Indicates that we are not. Therefore, please don't get it wrong. We are not belittling what has been said in these reports, like the Law Commission, the Brahma Committee report. These are official committees, no doubt about it. But we are only on this that the answer is very different. The answer, in fact, perhaps your petition, which has been lying for the last 8 years, pending reference. If this reference was not made, the court would have passed a series of orders for enforcing the law in this petition. But this reference, in fact, preempted the court from passing those orders.
No, it didn't preempt. The division bench retained session of the matter and continued to pass direct.